Hello, my name is Alexander Kiri. You're watching UATV News in English. This is the latest news from Ukraine and around the world. Now, first this hour, in just 2 hours, voting in the parliamentary elections in Ukraine will be over, and we will have some preliminary results. Now, as of 6 p.m., voter turnout in parliamentary elections to the Verkhovna Rada stands at 36.5%. This is reported on the website of the Central Election Commission of Ukraine. Voters in the Chernihiv region have been most active at nearly 42% voter turnout. The lowest turnout so far is in the Chernivtsi region with just under 29%. Now, in the Ukrainian capital, exit polls of the parliamentary election are being conducted by the Democratic Initiatives Foundation, the International Institute of Sociology and Razumkov Center. Early results are to be released later today. Let's take a listen.
We are not financed by any political party. The exit poll is funded by the United States, the European Union, Canada, and the International Renaissance Foundation. In addition, we have a supervisory board that observes voting at all stages so that everything is held in accordance with the plan.
And now we go to the latest from the front line. Our correspondent Ihor Bendelyan is working there, and he spent the night in the trenches with Ukrainian soldiers. Just a reminder, a ceasefire there was to come into force right after midnight today. Let's have a look.
Unlike the last presidential election, this time military personnel voted alongside civilians. The soldiers went to the polling stations and organized groups to cast their ballots. We have just half an hour to vote and 45 minutes to return.
We live in groups. Some soldiers stay at their positions to cover us if necessary, while others go and vote. Then they return, and others vote in their turn.
Every vote is important, the vote of every Ukrainian, whether he's a soldier or a salesperson. Therefore, the servicemen wanted to vote, and they will vote. Today, they are making an important choice for Ukraine.
The
night before the parliamentary elections was not like the night before the presidential election. Back then, the enemy largely withheld their fire. This night, however, was different. I spent the night in the trenches, and this is what I saw. We gave them response so that they would not forget that this is our land. Before midnight, the enemy opened fire and started attacking Ukrainian positions using small arms and continued shelling Ukrainian troops using mortars. We were waiting out the shelling in an entrenchment. Soldiers had sent us there urgently. At that moment, several mortar shells landed near Ukrainian positions.
Dear journalists, how do you like the ceasefire?
Amazing.
Yeah, we dreamed about something like this for a long time.
На часах сейчас ровно 12 часов 01 минута.
It's 1 minute past midnight. Complete silence settled in Mariinka and around Ukrainian positions at night, but the Ukrainian military does not trust the militants. Reported by Ihor Bendelyan, UATV.
Back in Kiev, the president of Ukraine has cast his ballot at the snap parliamentary election around noon today. Unlike the second round of the presidential election, this time the president has not revealed whom he voted for because it's prohibited by law. The rest of Kiev citizens still have 2 hours to cast their ballots. We have more on how Kiev voted in our next report.
The polling station in the Obolon district of Kyiv opened at time, at 8 in the morning. The first voters arrived right away. They say they feel a responsibility for their country.
I'm leaving for vacation in an hour. That's why I came so early. Every election is important.
I will vote and then I'll have to go to work. We're hoping for the best, no matter who wins.
I believe that a young team will come and we won't have what we had before.
Amina came to vote for the first time. She's just 19.
I want to see honesty in the parliament. It is the most important thing. I do not want to see nepotism or corruption. I want the Rada to work openly, honestly, and transparently.
Anna came to vote from the maternity ward. She had to obtain doctor's permission to come here. She says that voting is very important for her because it's just not about her future, but about the future of her child as well.
I vote for the sake of my unborn child. I hope everything will be all right. A stable, reliable, and peaceful future is the most important thing for our country.
According to Anna, she knew that President Zelensky was going to vote at the same polling station. She says it had no impact on her choice. Zelensky was expected by 12 p.m., but he arrived a little late. He and his wife, Olena, were dressed casually. This time, Zelensky did not reveal who he voted for. There were also no predictions from him regarding the work of the future Verkhovna Rada or possible candidates for prime minister.
Some people running for parliament might not like it. They might hope to see themselves in this post. I have a position of my own. I think that this person should be an economist, someone who is not a faction leader. I am conducting consultations.
No official exit poll data is available yet. 800 sociologists are working at 300 polling stations. They will interview 13,000 voters. The data is then transmitted to the International Institute of Sociological Research, Razumkov Center.
We are not financed by any political party. The exit poll is funded by the United States, the European Union, Canada, and the International Renaissance Foundation. In addition, we have a supervisory board that observes voting at all stages so that everything is held in accordance with the plan.
The first results of the national exit poll will be announced at 8 p.m. in Kyiv, after the polling stations close. According to the preliminary surveys, 5 parties will make it into the Rada. Reported by Nastia Fedchenko, UATV.
Over 1,700 observers are in Ukraine for the parliamentary elections. They have a crucial task before them, to report on electoral fraud and monitor the democratic process. Now they're monitoring voting in Kyiv, Odessa, Lviv, Kharkiv and Mariupol. And now we go to our correspondent, Pierre Marechko, who's at the Kyiv polling station where the Canadian monitoring mission is currently working. Now, hello Pierre, what is the latest news now?
Hello, Alex. So yes, we are here in front of a polling station in Kyiv where people have been voting since this morning. And also this polling station is receiving observers from the Canadian mission Canadem, which is monitoring the electoral process all over the country. But let's have a listen to Canadem's deputy head of mission, Olia Odinska-Grod, who told us more about how observers work.
Well, first of all, observers generally come with a little bit of election experience from Canada so that they have some concept of how an electoral process works. They come to Kyiv. We do a full day of training with our short-term observers. Our long-term observers, of course, are here for a long period of many weeks in advance. And we then have deployed our observers to all the regions of Ukraine where voting is taking place. They work in groups of 2, and so that they are spread out very widely across. And then they each have what we call their tablet, as our Canadam one, it's election observation forms. As you can see, there's very many. As they go through to the opening of the precinct offices, and then of course through the day they visit all the precinct offices, and at the end of the day they will end up at one of the district offices for the final count, and sometimes can be quite late in the morning before they're done.
As you might know, Canada's observers had already monitored the polls during the presidential elections this year, and their conclusions were positive. Olia Odinska-Grod was already the deputy head of the previous mission, so let's listen to her explaining what's different in this election.
I think the biggest difference is that, of course, there are two ballots this time. So, for a training procedure, it's a little more complicated. And for, the practicality of monitoring, it's a little more difficult. You've got people with two ballots. But overall, the mechanics are the same.
Tomorrow, the mission will hold a press conference in Kyiv to give their initial conclusions about this poll. Of course, we'll be attending this event and bringing you news about the electoral process as it develops. Back to you, Alex.
Well, thank you, Pierre. That was Pierre Marechko reporting from a Kyiv polling stations where the Canadian Monitoring Mission is currently supervising the parliamentary elections. And next, this hour, we go to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, more specifically to the US, where polling stations opened earlier today for Ukrainian voters to take part in the parliamentary elections. And we're joined by Hori Tichy. He's currently in New York to give us the latest on the votes there. Now, hello, Hori, can you tell us some more about the vote and how the vote is unfolding so far?
Hello, Alex. So you can see us in the Consulate General of Ukraine in New York. Behind me, you can see the process is ongoing. So there are people having their ballots and then filling them in and putting them into the boxes. So by stages on 10 o'clock in the morning, we have 145 people have voted, although more than 12,000 are registered here. In general, we have 4 polling stations in the U.S. It's Washington, D.C., New York here, Chicago, and San Francisco. So San Francisco is actually opening right now at 11 o'clock. In New York, it's 8 o'clock in San Francisco. So this is going to be the last polling station to vote. So all the people that we spoke to today, they say it's very important for them to come, very important to cast their ballots because they feel it's really their voice matters, and it's the future of Ukraine that is being decided. The two peculiarities here at this polling station is, first of all, in 2 hours in Ukraine, you will know exit polls, and here actually people will still vote for 7 more hours. So it's a bit strange when people actually see the exit polls in Ukraine, but they still come to vote. And the second peculiarity is, of course, that here people only choose the party lists and they don't vote for the direct vote representative. So there will be no representative from New York in Verkhovna Rada. Back to you, Alex.
Well, thank you, Gosha. That was Ukrainian foreign correspondent Hori Tichy reporting live from New York, where members of the Ukrainian diaspora are also casting their votes for the undergoing parliamentary elections. Now, Ukrainians abroad are voting in the elections, as we said earlier today. There are 102 polling stations operating at consulates and embassies in 72 countries. Ukraine's Central Election Commission has sent out almost 450,000 ballots. The voting takes place from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. local time. Voting in Australia has already concluded, and when voting ends in San Francisco, it will be early Wednesday morning in Ukraine. From Poland to the Netherlands and beyond, we take a listen at what voters are saying.
In Poland, voters sang the Ukrainian anthem while waiting for the polling station to open. More than 19,000 people are expected to cast their ballots in Warsaw today. Ukrainians in Poland can also vote in 3 other cities, including Gdańsk, Krakow, and Lublin. The polling stations will be open until 9 p.m. Kyiv time.
The number of voters has grown in comparison to the presidential election. There are 19,404 voters on the list. However, the turnout is expected to be 2 times lower. An hour after the start of the voting, we can see that the line is shorter in comparison to the presidential election and fewer people are interested in voting. It's not surprising since students have left for holidays and workers are mostly seasonal, so they are outside Warsaw.
Ukrainians are also voting in The Hague. The polling station in the Ukrainian embassy is the only one in the Netherlands, so people come here from across the country. There are almost 1,900 eligible voters here.
We came here from Amsterdam. The trip took 40 or 50 minutes. Our mom is with us. She also wants to vote. She has probably already voted. Mom thinks that it's very important.
3 polling stations are operating in the Turkish cities of Istanbul, Ankara, and Antalya. In Ankara, less than 30 people out of 214 have already cast their ballots. The oldest registered voter is 85. Some people come to these polling stations from other regions.
I came to vote because I see that Ukraine is going through a period of change now. I believe in the younger generation. I like how our president started his term in office, and I see many politicians, experienced not only in politics but also in economics, law, and other fields. They are ready to help young people. It's very good. Therefore, I came here to vote.
In Hungary, the polling station for the parliamentary elections is situated in Budapest. There, several people came out to cast their votes for the future of the country.
We're from Kiev. We're on holiday now. The election process is organized well here. We voted quickly. Moreover, a person who's voting for the first time is among us. It was interesting for her to take part in this process. We're a large group.
While polling stations have already closed in Australia, Ukrainians around the world continue to cast their votes. As voting stations open and close, everyone eagerly awaits election results.
And that's all we have for you this hour, but I'll leave the studio to my colleague Oles Garjuk, who's going to interview Bohdan Bondarenko. He's an expert at the Center of Policy and Legal Reform. Make sure to stay tuned on UATV to know more about the parliamentary elections currently underway in Ukraine. And for more information, you can check our official website, uatv.ua. Thank you for watching UATV News in English. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you very soon.